You and I have probably seen countless posts talking about the books you need to read to be effective at your job and career. Those top 5 books and the top 10 books and those lists you might see everywhere. In my view, they all paint an incomplete picture, and here's why. Early in your career, whether you're an entrepreneur, an engineer, a product manager, or part of any other discipline, reading the kinds of books that give you a deep understanding of your job is critical. You need to be effective at knowing the ins and outs of your job so that you can aim to be the best in the world at doing it. As you progress in your career, whether it's at a company or you learn very quickly as part of running your own company, going deeper into your domains will not take you farther than where you may be right now. You will hit a ceiling. Worse, when you hit that ceiling, you may start sliding backwards. This observation is probably the most difficult for all of us to internalize. What worked so well in the past may actually be a hindrance for your future, which seems very counterintuitive. At a certain point, and it varies by the company you're in or the situation you're facing, you're going to run against not a lack of domain expertise, but you're going to run against basic human psychology. Your ability to succeed will be found in how well you handle organizational chaos, how well you navigate uncertainty, and how well others perceive you as being capable. From this point of view, once you've got the domain expertise part of your job figured out, here are my favorite books in exact order that will help take you to the next level. Book number 1, Ogilvy and Advertising by David Ogilvy, one of the best marketers of all time. Now, this doesn't mean that this is just for those of you who work in marketing. All of us should be very good at communicating effectively to your team, to your management, and to your customers. This book gives David's advice that is very actionable on how to deliver the right message to the right audience at the right time. As a bonus, you'll probably learn to write marketing copy really well also. Book number 2, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Stoic philosophy is really about the importance of using logic over emotion. It's about being rational, even if every natural part of you feels otherwise. It's in many ways, but maintaining your focus and composure at all times, because as you know, or you'll soon be finding out, much of what happens beyond a certain point in the marketplace or in our jobs or in the organizations we're in is outside of our control. So knowing how to keep your eye on the things that matter and to resist the temptation of just wallowing on thoughts, it's an important part of just being very effective, especially in more complex organizational situations. Book number 3, and this is a controversial one. It is The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. Many of you probably heard about this book, but for those of you who don't, the pretext of this book is about how to acquire power and how to maintain it. It's written from the lens of city-states and managing power in large countries and from a political point of view, but a lot of what he writes about applies to normal situations involving finite resources and human beings. Now, even though the book is again about how to acquire power and how to maintain it, that's not what I want you to focus on as part of you reading this book. Instead, imagine that the environment that you and I are operating in, whether in an organization or in a competitive marketplace, imagine that all of that is just a game. You have many players. There's a mission statement that clarifies the goals of this game. To achieve these goals, the ideal way is to have a cooperative strategy where everyone is working together to achieve that goal. Now, that doesn't always play out in quite that way. Some play offense, some play defense as a result. Now, unless you're in a very dysfunctional situation, I encourage you not to proactively play offense when the idea is to play a cooperative game. That's just making a bad situation worse. With that said, you definitely need to know offensive tactics so that you can mount an effective defense. You need to know how someone playing offense will think, what their next move will be, so that you can react accordingly. And should the need arise, and you need to play offense as well, then play to win. And this book will give you all sides of how to navigate these interesting games that people, organizations, and teams will play. And book number 4 is more of a category of books actually. It's biographies, especially of historical figures. Now, nobody successful got to where they were by just starting and then ending and having a pretty straight path to where they got to. There were many setbacks that they had to endure and navigate. There were many opportunities they observed and took part in. what you're looking to gain in these biographies is not a direct one-to-one mapping of how someone else's story might help you. Instead, what you're looking for is how almost all the individuals had an unwavering belief that they were right. They were able to convince others of their vision, and they were able to rally them to their cause. And there are a handful of more books that I will have in my longer write-up that you'll see linked below. But these are my go-to recommendations, which apply to almost anybody in any discipline that requires dealing with other human beings. So the TLDR, or is it TLDW, is you absolutely need to be a domain expert and build a solid foundation. That's the first step. Without it, nothing else really matters. But beyond that, you need to balance your deep domain knowledge with techniques to navigate the sea of human emotions and desires and fears. And hopefully the books I listed here help you out.